Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. I've got two cards to share with you today and I've used the Whimsy Stamps products for this, especially this Camp Critter stamp set. Now I've only taken the two raccoons from this set, as you can see there on the right, and I've colored those in both of them will make a little card. Now I'm also using the Happy Camper die set, and all I use that one for is to build this little tent. My raccoons are off camping today. Now this is the Mountain Majesty die set, and I've taken from that the mountains, but I've also cut a forest border different from the one that you see there. And then I've got the Mix and Match Marquee set. Now my first card, I'm going to do a double tent fold card, and this is my mock-up. Now it's super easy to make, so I've got an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of 110-pound cardstock, and I'm trimming that at 5.5 inches down the long side. Now here I've got 3 inches left, and I'm going to cut off 2 inches, which means I'm left with a 2-inch wide piece and a 1-inch wide. Now my 5.5 by 11 inch piece I'm going to score right at 5.5 inches, so this will end up being a 5.5 inch square card. And I actually like that size because it fits into my 6 by 6 inch envelopes, and it gives me a bit more room to, to put things on it. Okay, so with this 2-inch wide piece, I'm going to score at 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and just because I don't like to score on the inside edge, I rotate it and score again at 1.5 inches. So it's actually just scored every 1/2 inch. Now we're going to accordion fold this. This will end up being the springs that go at the bottom of the tent fold. So the middle one I did as a mountain fold, and then these two outer score lines will end up being valley folds. So valley, mountain, valley. So the other one again will rotate up to the top there and just pressing that down. Now on the 1-inch piece, we're just going to score right down the middle at 1/2 inch and fold that one in half. Now all of these long pieces I'm going to cut 5.5 inches off, and so that will give me 2 of this spring mechanism here, and I only need 1 of the other 1-inch tab. Now we need to cut an opening on the front, so I thought it would be quite fun to use the Mix and Match Marquee die set, just because I'm going to be doing some mountains and the tent, and it somehow seemed to go with that. So I've put that on the front of my card. I'll open it up and then die cut it. Now you'll also need a couple of pieces of acetate. Mine are both 5.5 inch square, but one of them, you just need it to be big enough to cover whatever shape opening you end up putting in the front of your card. And I just chose to do the same 5.5 inch square. It was just easier. So I've removed the release paper on the opposite corners, and then I can just press this acetate down onto the front, onto the back of the front. And that's going to be my card. Now, if you want to do any ink blending, now's the time to do it on the back of the card, or put pattern paper on there, or whatever you're going to put on the back. I would do that now. And this little 1-inch tab that we're going to put at the top, had I thought clearly, I would have put this down first and marked off from the front where I needed to trim that down, because of that opening you would see that if I left it straight. So I've just shaved off a little bit on the side there. It won't matter. It is just a tab to hold our middle layer of acetate. So I'm butting it right up into that fold line. So the fold of that tab is up at the top there, going right into the crease of the front and the back, and I'm just pressing that down, making sure that it will still fold down. And then I'm going to put some red line tape on there because I will attach my acetate to that layer. So I'm just playing with my mountains there, trying to see where I want them to go so I could glue them in place. And I wanted them to be visible through the front. So now here's what this should look like from the side. So that little tab there, we're going to attach our acetate. Now because I have the red line tape and it's so sticky, I just find it easier to put this on the other side, butt it right up into the fold line, and then fold that whole thing down and pick it up on that red line tape that way, so I'm not messing around with the red line tape. So now we'll have 3 layers here. So there's the front, the back, and then that middle acetate layer. This is the forest layer that I die cut. I obviously needed it to be a lot longer on the bottom, but I've taken the little cabin out and substituted another tree that I just cut from a scrap that was on the side. So I'm just trying to figure out how high to make this layer at this point, and I'm just sort of keeping it butted up. I've lost one of those mountains, but I didn't really want my green ink blending showing. That green ink blending, you really don't need it, except that if you're looking at the card from the side, you'll kind of see it. So I put it in for that reason. So I'm now gluing that forest layer right down to the acetate, the middle acetate layer. And you're probably going, well, why wouldn't you just glue that to the back? But it actually gives you a lot more depth, that acetate layer. It sort of comes forward and away from the mountains, and I really like that. Now here, this is the front of the card, and you can see I've cut that grassy border, and I wanted just a little of that to show through at the front of on the acetate opening there. You can see it there. So I'm just sliding that down a little bit. So that just adds a bit more depth again, because that'll be further away than the tent layer. Okay, now these are our springs. Now you want to make sure when you attach these that they are making a W. If they look like an M, you're going the wrong way. It just won't open up as much. So definitely you want the W shape facing upright. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just putting glue on the back, and it's shaping a W when I go to put this down. So I will put that right against the bottom at the back of the back layer. So you're obviously going to line that up right along the bottom edge and between the left and the right edges. And if I was to look at that spring from the side, it would still be forming a W shape, not an M. So pressing that down, and then I can put some glue on the top of that, and then you're going to want to pull this acetate layer down nice and snug. It's a little bit taut, this layer. You have to sort of pull it down and let that glue set up. I think because of that tab at the top, it likes to be fairly tight. So just letting that set. Now that's what it should look like. And again, I'm going to do the same. I've got the W going there, and I'll add some glue to the back of that. And then this will attach now to this middle layer. Again, lining up the bottom and between the left and right edges. So I'm just going to press that down, really let it set up, and then I can put the glue on the top, and then I'm going to bring the front down and line up those bottom edges there. So really just pressing that in. So you'll see in a minute the depth that you get with that middle layer. It just really adds a fun factor to it. Now you can poke your bone folder in through the back of this, which I will do in a minute here, and just really let that, give it a bit of pressure there. Okay, so there it is from the side, and here it is from the front. Now it does stand up on its own, but there is just a nice depth of field of vision there. So I'm just, I've taken that sentiment from that stamp set. I've cut out the marquee, mix and match marquee die set, one in green, one in white, and stamped onto that. And that's my card. So I hope you can see the depth there. I don't know if the video actually shows as much, but definitely there's a gap there between the trees and the mountains, and between the tent and the front of the card. And it folds down flat to go in an envelope. It's a 5.5 square, so a 6x6 envelope works. And there's lots of room on the back to write a message. Okay, now this is the fastest card in history, I think. I had this little guy colored up. I'm using the Country Farm background paper, and I've trimmed all that down to be 5.5 inches square, and I've put it on a 5.5 inch square base. I put some foam tape behind my raccoon, and he has been going through the garbage, and he looks like he's had a fantastic time. And so I just stamped those sentiments from the same stamp sets and just made them into little speech bubbles, and now the 2 cows in the background are telling him to party hard. It's his birthday, and he's already been partying hard, I think. I don't know what the farmer would have to say. So there you go, 2 little cards. I hope that's given you some ideas, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're having a great day. Bye.